Oh, Low Tech Laboratories. Funny story where that name came from, too. The Sepultura song, Biotech is Godzilla. So we used to joke with Jeff and call it Xylotech is Godzilla. So to shorten it, instead of Xylotech, we just went Low Tech. Here's to you, my brother. I'm going to miss you so fucking much, man. I don't know what I'm going to do without you. This is going to help a lot, just like it always did for us in the past. But you're always going to be on my mind. And always on my shoulder, I know it, man. I'm going to miss you so much.
So we took Xylo camping one time, and we got there pretty late and set up camp and everything and got pretty drunk. And the next morning I got up early and I cooked breakfast for everybody, but I had to wash dishes. And I went to the well to get water, and there was a big sign around it that said it was okay, but you had to boil it first before you should drink it. But so I filled up a big couple jugs and brought them back to the campsite. Make a long story short, I was doing dishes, and Jeff woke up and in his usual crazy hair and in his whitey tighties, lost look on his face, came stumbling out of the tent, and I'm washing dishes and I wasn't really paying attention to him, and I turn around and he's chugging the water out of this water jug, and you could see like flakes of metal, and the water was just like yellow. It was definitely not good for consumption. And he must have drank like a liter or two of this water. And I yelled at him, and he's, put the water down, and I told him, and he tried to make himself throw up, but we all know he was terrible at that. So needless to say, he got terribly sick, and he spent that night with his head hanging out of the tent, with the tent door zipped up around his head, just thrown up all night long. And everybody in the camp, the whole campground, thought it was hilarious because his noise just carried on forever. We woke up the next morning and his head was still zipped up in the tent, just with his little head laying on a towel in the rain. It was pretty entertaining. Needless to say, he was a funny person to go camping with.
And best Wookie story would be, it was like a random weekday night, and he called me on my cell phone, and it was before he was working, playing with Caldera. He was working with them, recording their CD, and you work with someone for so long, and they do sound for you, and they always tell you, you do a great job. But it was special to have him call me and tell me that he wanted me to come in and do vocals for a song for them, and he thought of me. Not only did he think of me for the song, but he said, he's like, I think you'd be a great fit for it, and it was just a super awesome compliment. But then to spend the night with them, recording the vocals and hanging out with Wookie, that might not be as good for public stories, so I'll leave that for myself and him to carry on, but here's to you, Wookie.
I first met Wookie in probably 2008 or so, and then he brought me on a new sound at Yokon in 2012. We spent a lot of time together. He pretty much taught me everything about sound, recording, engineering. We were always laughing about something, finding new ways to have fun wherever we were at. He's full of love and positivity, and he's a great person, a great friend. And he loves having a good time, he loves loud music, and I know he's somewhere in the next dimension, probably getting destroyed with time. Cheers, brother.
You are the
to see Slipknot. I believe it was Pledge of Allegiance tour, and Wookie couldn't get his beers down on the floor, so I remember him taking 2 huge, big cups of beer, like 40-ounce cups or whatever, and folding the tops on them and stuffing them into his pockets and trying to waddle down the stairs so he didn't spill them. And then he got knocked into, and all the 2 beers just spilled all over him. It looks totally like he pissed himself. It was friggin' hilarious. Cheers to you, Wookie. Love you.
I have so many great stories about Wookie. You know, I've known him probably like 15, 16 years, and it's hard picking out just one, but I do have one that came to mind. It was a show at Yodi, and you know, we were all drinking, having a good time, hanging out there, and you know, doing our normal thing, like all our bands played, we were hanging out, and you know, I saw like Wookie, like he like disappeared, he like just took off, so I was like, okay, this is kind of weird, you know, and I came and you know, I was talking to my friends and whatnot, and then next thing I know, like Wookie pops out of the bathroom and he has nothing but a hat on his crotch, and he has like some kind of like rubber band or something like holding the hat on, so he's basically like completely naked just with this hat over his crotch, and he comes out to the sound, you know, the where he was doing sound, and he's like talking to everybody like that. He gets on the counter, he's like, you know, dancing around like that, like a male stripper with just the hat on his crotch. And I thought, you know, that was like typical Wookie. He'd always find a way to like make you laugh or some goofy stuff to do. And I was like, that was so funny. And then he wound up going outside, you know, in front of Yodi, like out on the street, like with just his hat on his crotch, you know. And he would talk to everybody back, you know, out there, and you know, luckily the cops didn't come, you know, because it would have been bad. But that's one of my favorite memories of Wookie, is just he was always willing to like do anything to like make you laugh or make you have a good time or smile. So
I don't have too many memories that are postable. My favorite was late night at Yodi, Wookie in the hat and the belt. And that's as far as I'm going to go there. Wookie was amazing, and we miss you. We miss you so much. Cheers.
Wookie. I don't remember what year it was, though. It was on my birthday. It was my birthday for sure. And we went to Jeff's mom's house in Cary, the barn, just to get away and drink. We went to like, I think Broken Oar or something like that. I don't remember too much. We went on the boats. I don't remember. Wookie fell in. But we ended up back at his mom's, and the next morning I wake up and I had hives all over my body because I drank so much or something and triggered some kind of allergic reaction. And there's Wookie in the kitchen, butt naked, with a belt and a hat on his stuff, which is called the Wookie loincloth now. And then he proceeded to get on the lawnmower and start riding around the streets of Cary, butt naked, just to make me laugh, I think. I truly think it was just to make me laugh. It was so funny he had to call Patrick and have Patrick come over just so Patrick could get a laugh. I think he really did stuff like that just to make us smile.
Wookie. One time I was at the studio recording with Speed Freak, and said I was hungry, and I was out of cash at the point. He gave me $20 to go to KFC to get me something to eat, because the type of guy you were, it's the type of guy you are, and love you. Cheers.
I didn't have the privilege of knowing Wookie as well as everybody else here. But knowing that all my friends were completely devastated by the loss and probably aren't going to be the same again, really hurts. And to Wookie, to everybody affected by his loss. Here's to you, man.
Trapped in my head, feeling the pressure, overthinking, questioning everything, losing myself, facing my demons, reach out my hand, grabbing a
But I truly think he did stuff like that to make us laugh every time he would take his clothes off at Yodi or give us. I'm sure everybody's probably experienced the old infamous Texas belt buckle. If you didn't experience that, you missed out on something very special. But he just did stuff like that to make us laugh. I don't think he was truly gross or anything like that. He just knew that's how he was going to get a laugh out of us. And he just always wanted to make us smile.
That was awesome.
So most of you know Jeff's dog, Casey, that had lived at his mom and dad's house. Before Casey, there was Mac. And Mac was a yellow lab like Casey, but he was a little bit different. He used to party with us in the basement. And he had a special water bowl that was his beer cup. And he would carry it around and smack you in the kneecaps with it. Tell you that he wanted a refill on his beer. And we spent many nights down there with Mac, sharing beers. And I remember one time, Mac used to lay right by Jeff's legs, and Jeff took quite a big hit of a cigarette, and he was coughing, and he just looked to his left and threw up all over Mac. And Mac just looked up in the air at him, and the big smile on his face. And we had to clean puke off his dog that night. It was pretty interesting, but Mac was a trooper. He was a hell of a dog. Cheers, brother.
My memory is the moment when I met Wookie. He looked like Lars Ulrich to me, the drummer from Metallica. And I remember I told him that. I said, Wookie, you look like Lars Ulrich. And he was like laughing because he has the same kind of long, blonde, straight hair. He was like, that's a good compliment, man. I'm not Lars Ulrich, but I'll take it as a compliment. And I miss him so much.
I don't have one specific Wookiee story, but it was an overall generosity that he brought and always gave to everyone that was near to him, that he called a brother, a friend. Anytime you saw him, he was there, he'd buying you a shot, buying you a beer, no matter what. You tried to buy him a drink and he almost wouldn't let you. He was such a generous person and just a wonderful person. We were at Mayhem Fest to see Jungle Rot. At the very end, we go over to the merch tent. Without even thinking, Wookie just starts pointing out, what do you want, what do you want, what do you want? He had to have dropped $200-300 on just buying us all shirts, and to this day, it's still one of my favorite Jungle Rot shirts. So, here's to you, Wookie. Love you.
So, I don't know if you guys remember, but Pantera put out a movie called the Vulgar Video Series. And in that, they used to do Boot to the Cool, where they were smoking cool cigarettes and kick each other and kick the cigarette out of each other's mouth. And me and Wookie used to fuck around with each other and beat on each other and wrestle all the time. And so he used to smoke cool cigarettes. So anytime he would light one up and wasn't paying attention, I would always either slap it or kick the cigarette out of his mouth. 9 times out of 10, I wound up kicking him in the face all the time. But it was just a fun thing that him and I did, and it used to get pretty rough down there. And I remember one night I went to kick the cigarette, and kicked him in the face, and cigarette ashes went everywhere, and he had coals burning on his face. And about 10 minutes later, I wasn't paying attention, and he took a metal step ladder, a foldable one, and he put it over my head, and he slammed it shut on my head and yelled, "Jackie Chan!" really loud. Just slammed it right on my head. I just still remember the ringing in my ears from the steel step stool. But yeah, it got pretty brutal. We used to, I don't know how many times we wound up rolling around on the floor down there together, but yeah, Boot to the Cool was a hell of a time. Excellent.
I'll never forget, the one time we were at Yodi and
John Bannister came walking in, and he said, "You guys, Mike Piazza's getting his ass kicked down the street." And Jeff goes, "What? Where's this going on?" And Jeff bolts out the door with John Bannister, and they go down there to help out Piazza. Then about an hour later, he comes back to the bar, and when he comes back and his head is all gashed open, and he's smiling and laughing all the time. What a jerk.
Stop it!
And he's like, "I don't know what I'm supposed to do about this." And we look at it, it just looks like this big open wound on his head. And he goes, "I don't know, Jimmy, just grab the duct tape and tape me up." So I taped him up. And he had like a headband of duct tape around his head. It was hilarious. Even funnier was trying to get it out of his hair the next day.
So my name is Mitch. I met Jeff Zylo, better known as Wookie, during metal's comeback to popularity. I don't have all that many vivid memories of him. We barely ran into one another, but the memories I do have were quite fun. One that stands out was a time during which he was doing the sound at the Yellowtown Inn to a band pretty much on the opposite spectrum of metal. I was dressed weirder than I usually do, and as you can see, well, never mind. He offered me $10 to shake people's hands and say, "Hi, I'm Mitch. I'm with the band." And I was about to do it for free. I shook hands with like 2 or 3 people, and I'm like, okay, that was fun. He pulled out 2 5s from his wallet, slapped them in my hand, and I went, okay. And he was always a stand-up guy, heart of gold. Sometimes his heart was too big for his own good, but that's our Wookie. Cheers.
Okay, so mine is the most recent one, and I guess the most appropriate because we had to pick appropriate stories. And ours was, I think we were here at the Red Ass Manor, and we were celebrating New Year's Eve, and we were playing Cards Against Humanity, which, if you're not familiar with, is a bit of an inappropriate game to be playing, but a hilarious game. And halfway through the gameplay comes in Wookie, just fucking shit-eating grin, doesn't even know what the hell's going on, just sits down, and he's like, "What are we doing?" And we're like, "We're playing cards." And he's like, "Alright, let's do this." And he just starts playing, but doesn't know how to play the game at all. So he's just reading the cards out loud, and we're all going, "No!" And then we're like, "Read your card," and it's back and forth. But somehow at the end of that game, he won and kicked all of our asses and still had no idea what he was doing. And that's kind of like one of the stories that just makes me think that's who he was. He just came in, took the situation for face value, and made the best of it. And it was always good for fucking making everything more fun. So, thank you, Wookie.
Not wake up the Wookie when he was sleeping. You just left him alone. And he was sleeping. He was sleeping in the basement. And I woke up. It was probably 3 p.m. the next day. It was after a long Yodi night. And he was sleeping on the couch, and he had a lighter in his hand, and I had a cigarette in my mouth, and I so needed a lighter so bad. And I seen it in his hand, and I was like a ninja. And I walked over there, and I just grabbed the tip of it, and I just started sliding it out of his hand. And I got about halfway, and he just jumped up out of nowhere and just grabbed me by my shirt and put his fist up, and one eye is going that way, one eye is going that way. He's like, ah. And I'm like, dude, it's me. It's Jimmy. And he just slouched right back out on the couch and passed right out. Yeah, that was we could never wake him up. You can't, his dad, everybody, his family will tell you. You had to wake him up with a broomstick because he woke up angry. He would always get up and he wanted to kill. He did not like waking up.
All right, so I first met Wookie around 2005 through Yodi, like so many others had met him. And just playing shows there and hanging out and having drinks with him. One of the things I loved about Wookie was that he was a big supporter of local music. He supported my band and so many others that were in the scene. And one of the other things that I loved about him was he was a very generous person. And I really learned this around, it was a couple of years back. Since he had always supported my music, I wanted to go out and support his music, and I went and saw him play with Caldera. And, he was very happy and appreciative that I had come out to see him play. And, I was helping the guys bring in some equipment to the show, and he was like, and this is probably going to be a really terrible Wookiee imitation, but dude, thank you so much for helping us and coming out and seeing us. Dude, are you going to Cannibal Corpse? I don't know if it was next weekend or whatever, but yeah, are you going to that show? Come out with us and I'll get you backstage to meet them and you can all hang out. And I wasn't able to make that show, unfortunately. But now I'm really wishing that I had, because that would have been a really great time and been more time for me to really get to know Wookie even more, and like just hang out, not like when I'm playing a show or just at seeing him randomly at parties or running into him at another show. So that would have been a really fun night. But yeah, Wookie, I love you, brother.
So here's to Wookie. I just want to remember all the times that going into Yodi and hearing him behind the board, especially after a while doing our sound and him knowing exactly how to do our sound, and after a while him almost telling me I don't even need to do a vocal check just because he knew just what to do. He was just so good behind the board, and spending time with him in the studio was so much fun. There's so many good times that just being around him always brought a smile to my face. So here's to Wookie, who was an amazing friend, generous beyond any definition of the word, and just one of the great musical talents to come out of Chicago, who really worked well with bands and cared about bands. There was never any time that I heard Wookie talk shit about a band, really, or where he, especially bands he supported full-heartedly. There's nothing he wouldn't do for bands that he loved. One of the most recent memories I have, one of our last shows that he was able to attend, we had leftover merch from our last album and stuff he already had. He already had the CD, he already had shirts, he already had stickers, but he came up and I remember he gave me a $100 bill, And he just looked at me and he goes, "You got to give me something." And I just remember looking at him and being like, "Dude, you already have everything. I can't take this." And I just remember him saying, "He's like, you guys need it. You guys need to put it towards what you love."
So I turned 21. I was 6 years older than Jeff. So he was about, 16 years old. And so I used to always have to sneak beer over to his house because he was a young kid. And this was before we were allowed to bring beer into the house. So in those days, we used to have to put it up on the roof. And I remember I was standing on the air conditioner lifting beer up onto the roof. And that he was up on the roof trying to grab the case of beer from me, and all of a sudden the curtains open and there's Hulkster with a cigar in his mouth, twirling it, just staring at me, and I got a case of beer in my hands. I didn't know what else to do but smile and laugh, but that was definitely a good story.
Hello everyone, doing a little quick story about Wookie. Met him back in 2005 or 2006, one of the two. My old band Dead for Days were doing a show at the Old Town Inn, and it was Flush Grind's very last show. And the first time I met him, when I was setting up my drum set, I had a huge kit back then, and everything was triggered. So I'm sitting up there trying to set up, and then he comes up to me in his raspy voice. He's like, "How many bucks do you need for this big ass kit?" And I'm just like, "Nothing. I got everything on 2 outs. Everything is triggered electronically." I was like, "Oh shit! Well, my job's done. You make it a hell of a lot easier for me." So, and then since then we became great friends. He was like a brother to me. We'd hang out after shows, and yeah, he was a great friend. Somebody I'm proud to call my brother, and the memories, I'll keep this with me until my dying day.
Be rocking death metal or something downstairs, super heavy, way late in the night. I'm sure keeping the whole house up. Or if Jerry was drinking, if the Hawkster was drinking, he'd come downstairs and he'd be like, "What are you guys listening to down here? Why don't you play some real music like the Four Tops?" Me and we'd be like, "Okay." And we put the Four Tops on. And the funniest thing was all three of us down there drunk, dancing away to the Four Tops. And then Mom would stick her head down there and be like, "Can you guys play some Kid Rock?" And it's like 5 in the morning and we're having a house party with the parents. It was pretty fun though. We had some fun times in the basement.
So, I don't know, late 90s, Jeff had gotten jumped by the same group of guys that jumped me a couple weeks earlier. And they beat him pretty good and cracked his skull on the side of his head, on the left side of his head. And he was in the emergency room. And so I rushed over there in the middle of the night, and his mom didn't want to go into the ER. So she told the nurses I was his brother. And I went in there and sat with him. And we're sitting there, he's getting examined, he's in his little paper dress with his butt hanging out. And I smell cigarette smoke, and I turn around, and the bastard's sitting there lighting a cigarette in the emergency room, mumbling, grumbling that they're taking too long. So I slapped the cigarette out of his mouth and threw it in the garbage. I apologized to the nurses. He just kept trying to light cigarettes, and then I turned my back. I was asking the nurses to get him some medication and have the doctor come in because his head was really hurting him. And I came in, and he had another cigarette in his mouth. He was right about to light it, and I kept telling him, "You can't do this." So they got his head all stapled back together, put him back together, and we took him home that night. But yeah, he was not listening to doctor's advice, his usual stubborn self. It was classic Wookie.
Call the